So no conflict of interest. And I think it's interesting to reflect on what has changed in TKRs in the past 2 decades. Today we talk more about understanding the dissatisfied patient, and attempts to reduce this percentage has led to revisit alignment fixation and the use of technology, hoping that addressing these issues will improve outcomes and survivorship. When we talked about dissatisfaction, this was first alluded to by Phil Noble in 2006, and you can see the various percentages. It's pretty much remained constant from 14% in 2006 to 10% in 2023, so not a lot has changed. So what has really happened? I think the goalpost has shifted. We today no longer debate CR versus PS. Forever we used to talk about the CR versus PS, the patellar versus non-patellar resurfacing, cemented, cementless, CPM, no CPM. We now debate more mundane issues like alignment strategies, restoring CPACs, and using enabling technologies. And to address these issues, various alternative options have been suggested, which include alternate alignment options, fixation strategies, and use of enabling technologies, hoping for better prompts, patient satisfaction, and function. It's interesting to note that some of the giants who preceded us have spoken about a previous report in terms of active survivorship in active young patients. And they have reported almost an 84%, 92% of IB1, which was really the forerunner that Dr. Ranawat and Dr. Insal put in 30 years ago. 94.2% in 25 and 92.4% at 30 years. This is Merrill Ritter's work, who alluded to the fact that there was a greater chance of dying from natural causes than having loosening in your implant. Yet another article quoting 87% survivorship for revision for any cause and 98% survivorship for revision for aseptic loosening using the PFC system in a cohort between 19 and 25 years. So what has changed? And I think we've already had this session. Why are knees failing today? They're again failing for pretty much the same reasons: loosening, infection, instability, periprosthetic fractures, and arthrofibrosis. So we now get this mix of the alignment conundrum, and we have this assortment of various alignment options that are available, which technically means you can put in a knee any which way it fits into one of these 9, 10, 12, 17 options. So who really benefits from, let's talk about the two main strategies, kinematic alignment and the functional or the personalized alignment. Article from 2020, 100 patients undergoing MA and K, only 38 with K achieved higher functional results. And when you looked at a randomized controlled trial, clinical outcomes were similar. Several articles that have appeared, and as recently as January 2025, no difference in 10 years clinical and radiographic outcomes. I have a great respect and regard for my good friend Anup, and he has very eloquently demonstrated the virtues of kinematic, and all the review literatures that he's done an extensive amount of presentation. None of them actually demonstrate better outcomes, at best similar outcomes. We have this new kid on the block, the CPAC issue, as if the knee replacement scenario wasn't confused enough. We now have this choice of 9. We heard over the past few hours that the bottom 3 have no relevance, so we're now down to 6. And you have distal, proximal, slopes, and all the rest of it. So what has this done to our armamentarium and outcomes? Changing CPAC does not change the outcome following TK. This is 24. Pre-op and post-op change in CPAC alignment remains elusive. And CPAC may identify phenotypes that could possibly benefit from K. This is McDissie's article. So the real issue that we need to align ourselves to is our neural alignments designed for specific implants. And one of the speakers earlier very eloquently said that possibly we need neural alignments for kinematic alignments. And the real question we need to ask is, does altering your cuts by a few degrees give us better outcomes, or are we creating a new plethora of problems? Again, interestingly enough, when you look at the annual report of the American Joint Registry, the average surgeon in the American cohort of surgeons does, if you look at the 25th percentile, roughly about 9 surgeries annually. Or if you look at the broader spectrum, 2.5. So it does make sense in these kind of scenarios to have some enabling technology for him doing or her doing a good procedure. So the purported advantages of robotics, and this is something that is pretty relevant, is that it offers you accurate alignment, better outcomes, and satisfaction, and the ability to achieve preset alignment targets and minimize soft tissue releases, and we've had enough debate on this over the morning sessions. So the current trend is TKRs done robotically are on the rise. Almost 20% of all knees done in the US today are robotically inclined. And I'm given to understand that India has one of the largest populations of robotic interventions in this part of the world. But let's look at what literature actually has to say. This is an article from 2022. It has its complements of advantages and disadvantages, and it's important to realize that surgeons need to be familiar with the system to use it effectively. Article from 2023, no differences in clinical outcomes or scores. Another article from 2023, no differences in navigated robotic when compared to conventional or PSI instrumentation. And this is the Australian registry. No difference in limb alignment between kinematic and mechanically aligned robotic assisted total knee replacements. Article from 2024. We published in the latter part of last year. We did achieve targets more consistently in our robotic cohort than we did in the manual, but this does not contribute to better functional outcomes or patient satisfaction at a 1-year follow-up. Again, when you look at more articles not associated with increased patient satisfaction, this was a systematic review and a meta-analysis. Comparable results using the ROSA system, which is what I used, a randomized propensity matched cohort study. Yet again, comparison of the accuracy and efficacy, meta-analysis, no differences in clinical outcomes. The recent World Expert Meet in Istanbul under Jay's watch, in the uni compartment, it certainly seemed to be giving better results, but in the total cohort, the results were very comparable. And when we looked at the ARCUS survey from 2020, their conclusion was adoption was based on a bias of accurate alignment marketing strategy rather than improved results. And interestingly enough, some 76% of the articles published were by authors who had some sort of a conflict of interest. I'm grateful to Stephen McDonald, who was kind enough to allow me to use this slide. This is one of his that he presented at the recent CCJR. So this is really the future. So if you ask me, is robotics here to stay? Absolutely. Does it give you better results? As of today, there is no evidence out in literature that is published in a peer-reviewed journal that alludes to the fact that robotically or technology-aided total knee replacements have better outcomes from survivorship or function. So what has technology added? A predictable target that can be achieved consistently by most surgeons. I think it's made it a more level playing field, provided they understand desired limits, boundaries of their goals. And this will prevent a plethora of issues caused by chasing numbers rather than achieving sound surgical principles. So robotic aided TK achieves alignments, desired alignments consistently, but not necessarily better outcomes. And whether it will improve survivorship really awaits the test of time. So for the final food for thought, do you want to do your knees by replacing, by balancing soft tissues or by balancing numbers? This was a patient of mine who went overseas to a very well-known center, had his robotic knee done. They balanced the numbers with 17 degrees of internal rotation of the femur, ended up with a patellar dislocation, had a proximal realignment which failed, had a distal realignment that failed, and we just recently, about 2 days back, revised this. So in a space of 8 to 10 months, this patient has had 4 surgeries for the knee. I'd like to thank you for your kind attention.